So my name is Mirela, and I live in Croatia. I am an English teacher, and I teach English as a foreign language uh, to my students who are 7 to 14 years old. They start learning English at first grade, and they continue learning the language until they finish their education. I have been working as an English teacher since 2006. And these couple of years, or maybe the last 5 or 6 years, have been quite challenging to teach my students, especially because my school is always in some kind of experimental programs, and each of those programs bring their ups and downs, but students mostly take up the negative sides of it. So we are in another experimental program that lasts for 4 years. This is our second year, and we are already seeing the negative aspects, only negative aspects of the program. But still, I like my job. I work in a village, so I don't work in a place I live in. I commute to work, and it takes me about half an hour each way.
What differences have you observed between learning English in Croatia and in native English speaking countries?
Okay, so students in or anyone in Croatia isn't surrounded by English all the time, like native students are, or native people are. So students and people in Croatia are surrounded by English only when they watch TV or YouTube or maybe TikTok nowadays, and when they are at school. So they don't normally use English. Actually, we don't normally use English in everyday life. We do use some of the words, but that's very seldom. And learning English, for example, in Croatia, is more based on learning the vocabulary or grammar rules, learning how to speak or write, and how to understand our speakers. So that's the main aspect of learning English in Croatia. So that we can communicate better with our speakers, or maybe if we try and find a job outside of Croatia, that we can use the language properly.
Among the four folded skills,
Thank you.
listening, speaking, reading, and writing,
Yes.
among these four
Yes.
folded skills, which skill is highly emphasized as per the policy of your regional government or the policy of your country? In my region, if I want to share, among the four folded skills, we focus mainly on listening, reading, and writing rather than the speaking. How about
Okay.
there in your country? Is it highly focused or highly neglected?
Well, we are highly focused on listening, speaking, and reading, and writing is the least focused on. I really don't know why, because I think all four skills are very important. Because if you are going to, for example, find a job outside of Croatia and you need to write your CV, you need to write it in English. You need to write everything in English. So writing is least focused on, mostly speaking and listening. Reading a bit less, but it's also focused on.
Okay, thank you so much. And here is
Yes.
another student, Nanda Kishore, over to you.
Hello.
How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I am also fine, ma'am. Thank you. My name is Nandakishore, a 10th grader from JPJ Salavaram. Here my question is, what are some
Mhm.
traditional Croatian customs or celebrations that you share with?
Okay, so Croatian customs. We normally work on, it depends on the region, but the common customs we all share in the whole country are Christmas, New Year's, and Easter. So those are the main traditions that we learn about and work on. Uh, but since I teach English, I always try to compare our traditions to, for example, English-speaking countries' traditions for those holidays. And most of the time, those are holidays from the UK or the USA, but sometimes I include, for example, Ireland or Canada or any other English speaking country that I can find traditions about. And so in Croatia, as far as learning the foreign language, this being English, we don't learn about Croatian customs, but we compare them to other customs in other countries that have the same holidays as we do. And we also learn about other holidays and customs in other countries that we don't have. For example, um, what would be St. Patrick's Day, for example? We don't celebrate that here, but it's an English speaking country holiday. So we learn about that.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
My name is Gayatri Salvi. I am studying 7th grade. Can I ask one question, ma'am?
Yes, of course.
How do you adapt your English teaching methods to suit the needs of Croatian students?
Okay, so first I have to highlight the difference between English language and Croatian language, especially grammar, because it's very different. English grammar and Croatian grammar is very different. And also the word order in both languages are very different. Uh, then I also have to remind my students that they cannot translate directly because that's the most common error that they make when they try to translate something from English to Croatian. And then what I've noticed through my teaching is that many students have the problem with the sound th when they learn, for example, when they learn numbers or anything. So number three, they rarely say three. It's mostly tree or free. So I started making jokes about that. When they need to say the number three and they say tree, I tell them like the tree is just right outside of the classroom. That's not the number. Or when they say free instead of three, then I make a joke like, oh, I didn't know that I'm going to have a free lesson with you today. So, and they always laugh, but some of them never learn that sound, and it's very difficult for them. I don't know why. Then then I try to compare our cultures, so Croatian culture and English-speaking countries' cultures or customs or holidays. Um, and as I already said, we mostly focus on listening and speaking. I try to focus more on writing, but it's proven to be quite difficult because since we are in another experiment, most of the children don't study at home at all. So they don't study or learn how to write words or how to write simple sentences in English language, and that's become a very huge problem. I also use a lot of technology. Since my school is in so many projects, we have a lot of technology. So our classrooms, all of our classrooms have smart boards. We all have teachers, we all have laptops or computers. So I try to use the smart board to practice listening, reading, writing. Uh, uh, we do a lot of quizzes and I show them a lot of videos, so they need to listen to understand. Sometimes they make presentations, sometimes I show them some presentations, but I do use a lot of technology because I've noticed that they think of it as a game, but they are not aware that they actually learn something when they play quizzes or watch videos and try to solve tasks after that.
Thank you.
Okay, so what technology I use to teach? As I already said, I use Smartboard a lot in my lessons because I have digital textbooks books, and it's easier for my students to check the solutions after they do some tasks. And then I use a lot of multimedia, mostly YouTube, and to show them some videos about topics that we do. And then I also use a lot of different learning applications like WordWall or Bamboozle. Then maybe learning apps or sometimes Kahoot. Of course, I use the free version, but for example, my students love Bamboozle a lot. And I sometimes use Blocket, but that's mostly for holidays when we want to revise what we already know. And I also sometimes participate with my students in e-twinning projects. If I can find a project that suits our topics and something I can infiltrate in my teaching, or what we have to do during the class, then I join a project. We have also been a part of Erasmus Plus project, and that was a great experience. We are waiting for the results of a new one. Hopefully will pass, because I've noticed that my students love going to other countries and meeting other students because mostly they don't get to go anywhere. They live in a village. It's a very rural place, and most of the parents either don't work or have quite low salaries, so they cannot afford for their children to go outside of Croatia.
Hello, ma'am. How are you
Hello.
today?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. Hope you are fine too.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for
Mhm.
asking me. This is Dikshit, a 10th grader from ZPHS Elavaram. It's my pleasure to ask you a question, can I, ma'am?
Yes, of course.
What strategies do you use to help Croatian students become more confident in speaking English?
Okay, well, that's a very hard question because nowadays my students don't really want to try speak English. But I do use pair work or group work to practice speaking. They have to prepare some presentations on different subjects. And for example, we have it depends on a class. We have 5 or 6 modules during the school year, and at the end of each module, they have to prepare an oral presentation. So they have to talk for a few minutes about a different topic. The little ones, 7 or 8 year olds, they get to say maybe 2, 3 sentences, which is quite enough for them. The older they get, they have to speak more. For example, just yesterday, my 7th graders had to do the oral presentation about robots for a high-tech hotel. And they had to design their own robot and then describe what the robot looks like and what would the robot's job at that hotel be. So, for example, maybe 2 to 3 minutes speech about that topic. And I always try to give them something that I think it would be interesting for them to do. But the problem becomes there because most of them write it down in Croatian, and then they use Google Translate or something else to translate in English. And it would be okay if they would actually realize that Google Translate doesn't always translate right from English to Croatian or from Croatian to English. It's still not perfect, but that's okay. At least they are trying. Then I also try to get them to practice speaking in common situations. Like, for example, if they would come to a town that they've never been to, how would they ask for directions? And or if they would meet someone who asks them for directions, how would they give those directions to the person? Or what would they ask, or how would they mm, how would they order food if they are in a restaurant? Or how would they introduce themselves to someone? As I already said, in the couple of last years, it's been really challenging to try and get them to talk. But I'm trying. I'm not giving up. Also,
Yes, please.
yes, and I also try to use songs because even they don't want to really sing, but at least they hear the language.
Yeah.
Our classes is at a trip,
Okay,
a
okay.
week trip, so I'm using their classroom, but I can show you through the window
Okay, no problem.
what our part of our, if you can see it, what a part of our, maybe I can try and open the window. This is outside of our school, one part of it.
Yeah, it's looking
So we have, yeah,
yeah.
it is.
So much.
We have a lot of trees,
Yes.
and we have some outdoor classrooms
Yes.
also.
I'm so curious to ask you questions. Is your school a public school or private school? Why does your government change the system from time to time to suit the needs of the students? You have told us that many a times it affected the students from a negative perspective rather than the positive perspective. Could you please explain to us?
Okay, first, to answer your question, my school is a public school. I work at a primary school. And all primary schools in Croatia are public schools. We don't have private primary schools. We do have some private high schools, but not many students go there. Those high schools are for students whose parents are quite rich and they can afford them. But most of the schools are public schools in Croatia. And as far as these changes, our government would like to change our school system because it's proven not to be working as well as it should be. Things are quite different nowadays than when I went to school, but there's still the same school system. And this is the experimental program my school is in now is, for example, as they have in the UK or in the USA, that children do everything at school and they don't leave, they don't take homework or anything home. So they spend their days from 8 a.m. until maybe 3 or 4 p.m. Sometimes 5 p.m. at school, and they should be free after that. This is so far proven not to be good because most of the children not realized, but most of the children took it as a way that they don't have to do anything at home, any schoolwork. Okay, we don't give them homework, but you do have to do some research. You do have to study at home, but they took it as they don't have to do anything. So that's why we say it's not good. Also, it would be good if our school system would be different. I don't know how many subjects do students in at primary school in India have?
So usually 6 subjects, usually 5 or 6 subjects at primary level.
Okay. So, for example, students in Croatia, if they are first to fourth grade, so 7 to 10 or 11 years old, they have 6 or 7 subjects. Maybe, no, sorry. Actually, they have 9 subjects.
Yeah. Could
So
you please explain? Could you please explain to us?
They have, for example, they have a Croatian, maths, music, art, English as a foreign language. Then they have something like science. They have ICT, PE, and religion education.
Age of retirement in Croatia, especially for teachers working there. If a teacher working in a primary school in Croatia, is he or she promoted to high school teacher based on her qualification, based on her experience, or does she need to remain in the primary school throughout her service? That's my question.
Okay. Okay, so the retirement for not just for teachers, but for anyone in Croatia for now is 65 years old, or at least if it's going to be a full pension, at least I think 30 years of work. And as far as teachers being promoted to work at high school, it depends on their degree. For example, my degree doesn't allow me to work at a high school because I'm a primary school teacher plus an English teacher. So if I wanted to work at a high school, which I don't, I would have to do some extra education or basically go through the whole education all over again. But teachers that, for example, that teach maths or Croatian or chemistry, biology, ICT, and so on, they can teach at a high school if they want to.
Okay. Yeah, I do
Yes.
understand. And what is the average classroom ratio? 50 students or 40 students? In India, we have 40 some classes, 50 some classes. What is the normal classroom ratio in your school settings?
Well, it also depends on the school and on the area that you work on. It depends. For example, schools in towns, they have the approximate number of students in one class is maybe 15 to 20 or 25 students. In my school, since we are a village school, it depends on a generation actually. So our biggest class is 18 students and our smallest class is 6 students.
Wind up this session, may I request you to give a message to my students?
Okay, so it was really nice meeting you. And I hope you enjoyed it as well. I'm actually very surprised how polite all of you are. And this is our bell. So I hope we get to meet soon again, and I would like to meet with you again with my students. So